the topic of gender ideology, in particular relating to what I refer to as the TQ cult, the very militant members of the trans, queer and non-binary communities, the tiny minority who are overly aggressive, constantly making ridiculous demands whilst pretending to be the victim. That's never far from the news. Just yesterday, here in the UK, the leader of the opposition, Sir Keir Starmer, finally climbed off the fence and said that biological males should not compete in female-only sports, nor should they be in female-only spaces. I wonder why he's doing it now. It's almost like we're waiting for an election. We've seen gender ideology allow men with a cross-dressing fetish, men who used to be called transvestites, live out said fetish among the rest of us and invade women's spaces, and if they're called out on it, they'll scream transphobia. Actual transsexuals, they barely get a fucking mention anymore. But recently, there's been a disturbing rise with the number of young women, in particular young white women, who are falling prey to this curse. We shouldn't be overly surprised because critical race theory, or CRT, is now widely taught in Western schools, colleges and universities. And if you're unfamiliar with critical race theory, it's an ideology which teaches that all white people the same colour as me, are born racist, we cannot stop being racist, and essentially that everything bad that's ever happened throughout history is the fault of white people. It ignores inconvenient truths like the transatlantic slave trade was brought to an end by the British, and at the time the British were the same colour as me, and that the slave trade was almost entirely facilitated by warring African tribes. So what we have now is a situation where young white people are being taught from a very early age to hate themselves. They're taught they have white privilege. Now, if you add to that having straight privilege if you're heterosexual, and also, although I hate the term, cis privilege, identifying with the gender you were born as. So now we have these younger people, in particular young white women, being told that because they are straight, cisgendered and white, they are oppressors. How the fuck have we got to this? And until very recently, if a young girl was acting in ways that weren't typically feminine, then she'd be labelled a tomboy, and that was that. And some people would think maybe she'll grow up to be gay or bisexual or whatever. It didn't matter. Being a tomboy was a normal thing. But now, if woke progressive parents see their daughter doing anything vaguely boyish, some of them can't wait to get them smashed full of hormones so they can boast to their equally woke progressive friends, our daughter is now a transgender fluid non-binary they them. So today we'll meet three females who get progressively stranger, beginning with this young lady.
The thing with gender identity is I feel like it's such a difficult thing. Because, I'm 21 years old, right? And I don't know my gender identity. I still don't. I'm going through the motions. I know I'm not cis, but that's about it. And I think that's a completely okay thing. I don't know. I want to be the person that I wish I had growing up, and I hope that's doing a little something. That's all that matters.
21 years old. She can legally marry, have children, learn to drive, buy a house, join the armed forces, or even go crazy and get a tattoo. But she doesn't know what gender she is. Here's a clue, love. There's only two genders and a shitload of mental illness. But she knows she isn't cis. Because, of course, cis plus white equals oppressor. Also, it's worth mentioning that if you're cisgendered, you don't get all the special attention. When I was 21 years old, and it's a long time ago, I wasn't confused about my gender. Actually, when I was 21, I'd just gotten engaged, not to Mrs. Disgruntled. Back then, I still had really terrible taste in women. A downside to being a man is having a brain and a penis and not enough blood to run both at the same time. Next up, we'll see another woman, and this one knows which gender she is, or rather, which genders she is, and also all about her sexuality, even though they're entirely made up.
Why am I both extremely straight and also extremely queer? Here we go. I am pangender and pansexual. So I use all pronouns because I am non-binary, but I also do not feel a strong connection to any of the genders, but also I don't feel like a strong ew, I hate it to any of the genders. Though if you call me ma'am, I will punch you. But if I am all genders, that means I'm always straight in a relationship. But it also means I am always super fucking queer. So it works every way. I am, at the same time, extremely queer and extremely straight.
Pangender. So she's all genders whilst not being connected to any of them. In the same way, I suspect she's not really that connected to reality. It's all attention-seeking, off-the-scale narcissism, with the obligatory septum piercing and brightly coloured hair. And as for being pansexual, well, the TQ cult are really trying to push that word at the minute to replace the term bisexual. Because bisexual means there are only two. So if there are only two sexes, ergo two genders, their entire house of cards will come tumbling down. As for being straight or super queer, let me try and explain it for the benefit of that woman. Right, love, if you're engaging in a spot of horizontal jogging with a man, and that man is thrusting his pork sword in and out of your shame cave, that is heterosexual sex. Whereas, if you are with another lady and you are blasting away at one another's pink lasagnas, that is lesbian sex. You are not having queer sex with a man or straight sex with a woman. However, you do come across as a bit of a slag. So being pansexual means being attracted to all genders. I doubt the woman we've just seen, the lady who's been ridden by more people than a donkey at Blackpool seafront, will find the next thing attractive. I featured this gender goblin before. It's a woman who's transitioning, but I'm not sure what she's transitioning to. I think she's trying to be Gollum from Lord of the Rings.
I'm so tired of white cis women being more dedicated to being called a healer than actually doing the work to be a healer. The only thing that you're worried about healing is your bruised ego and being confronted with your complacency in genocide and your obsession with upholding privilege. We do not need more nice white women. Are you kidding me? And stop asking marginalized people to do the work for you because you don't feel comfortable with it. I am so tired of having conversations with white cis women where they're more upset about the fact that they're being called in or called out than the fact that they're harming marginalized people. The fact that there is literal genocide that they are paying for with the fucking advertisements that they're putting all over Instagram. And these are the same women that are the first to minimize the impact of social media and also the first to use social media as their business opportunity, to use their voice, to create their community. So why is it that when in your mode of healing and community and business, why the fuck is liberation not being centered? Y'all are stealing resources and precious energy and precious time from marginalized people because you are not willing to do it yourself. It's pathetic and it's privilege as fuck. You have so much power. Stop pretending that you can play small and get away with it. Step it the fuck up. Your comfort is not a priority here. At all.
The first thing I want to address is the amount of projection going on there. Projection is an ego defense where we see characteristics we don't like about ourselves in other people. She's ranting incoherently about white women, despite being a white woman, because whether she likes it or not, it doesn't matter that she's had a double mastectomy or taken enough testosterone that she has facial hair resembling a 12-year-old boy. She can't change her DNA. She'll always be a white woman. And when it comes to the multiple mentions of genocide, she doesn't clarify which one. It may be the trans genocide, which is apparently going on right now, the only genocide in history where everyone being murdered is alive and well to tell us about it. Or she may be referring to the war between Hamas and Israel. I suspect it's that one because that individual recently converted to Islam. Now, I would pay good money to see that woman go to a mosque run by hardline Islamists and explain she's on their side. The rest of it, though, is just a nonsensical rant, and that's coming from me. Saying, oh, cis white women, you don't want to be healers, you won't put the effort in, marginalised communities, resources, you're stealing this, social media. What the fuck are you on about? I'll have a go at my own. What about the flamingos standing there asleep on one leg and they're all pink, and if you put a brick into a toaster it doesn't make it into a trifle, and the curtains fell down and that oppressed the indigenous people and caused climate change? It's all the fault of white men. So if you're watching this video and you have a young daughter or daughters, regardless of the colour of your skin, be aware that's what's coming for your offspring if you aren't careful. Aside from when they're in the changing room with a 50-year-old man leering at them, but he's put a bow in his hair, so that makes him a woman. Anyway, that's the end of this video. If you've enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe if you haven't already. And as ever, thanks for watching. The cult of gender ideology... Oh, fuck that up already. Well done, Dan. When relating to what I... Oh, fucking bollocks to it. Gender ideology allows cross-dress... That wasn't a hole. I just stood on my own shoelace. Oh, fuck that up. Critical race theory. Being racist to white people and getting away with it. Inconvenient truths. Like that the West has given Africa $1.8 trillion in aid, and in return... Oh, fuck it. $1.8 trillion in aid, and in return, Africa gave the West AIDS. If a girl was acting in, let's say, not a feminine way, then she was labelled as a tomboy. Not a feminine way, when now we've got boys wearing fucking dresses anyway. 21 years old, why is she wearing a COVID mask? Is the pandemic now retro among the youth? I don't think even our new friend, who's had more cocks in her than a hen has... Shit. She's going so far out of her way to look so grotesque. Trust me on this, love. Open your mouth. After 10 seconds, no one will want to fuck you. She doesn't quite clarify. That was a hole.